and welcome back to another episode of Masked Monologues. I'm so excited to have Lotus here with me. Can you tell me a little bit about your writing and why you got started?
First of all, thank you so much, AKA Girl, for having me on your podcast. Really amazing to be here.
my
And the reason
pleasure.
I started, awesome, it's really amazing. Thank you again. The reason that I started to write was mostly to unpack all of the emotions and the hurricanes in my mind. That's really why I started poetry, mostly to rid myself of the stress that I was going through, or just like all of my emotions and wanting to get clarity and wanting to articulate myself better. I think also I spend a lot of time alone. I'm a big like lone wolf. So I think that writing is also a way to find comfort.
Yeah, I find that's why most writers get started. It's just because they want to rid themselves of all these negative emotions, or they might be going through trauma, something might be happening in their lives, and it's just cathartic, honestly.
No, it really is. It really is. It is so relieving and euphoric. And I think that when you struggle to verbalize your emotions and your feelings, that moment, I know you know, because you also write, but you know, like that moment where you're like, yo, I don't know how I'm going to say it. And then it comes to you and it comes to you in like a rhyme or like this really beautiful poetic way. You're like, yes,
Gotta capture it.
for real.
And I'm wondering, do you usually use your phone or your notes app on your phone to write down your poems, or do you record it? You don't know how other people do it. I know I do it probably on my phone or in a notebook, but I'm always curious to know how other people capture their ideas.
I really prefer pen and paper, but the idea doesn't always straight and I have pen and paper. Even though I carry like a little note, sometimes I can't use it. Yes. The next best thing is that I either freestyle it and record it in my notes app, or I do write it on my notes, or I do have a little journal, like a journal app.
I know it's so aesthetic when you have a pencil, a notebook, and you're like, I'm going to get in the zone to start writing. And you can feel the pen and the paper. There's just something lovely about that physical feeling and the tangible object there. And it's just feels like art when you're here writing it on a notebook. But obviously, it's not convenient because these ideas pop into your head in the most unexpected time.
Yes. It feels, I think, the most human out of everything. Sometimes you're driving, you're like at the supermarket, or I don't know, you're like farting on the toilet. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's not always practical, but it is. I think when I'm like word dumping or brain dumping and just not really writing the song, oh my God, I'm so sorry for that.
Yes. And I'm wondering, you say that you write to relieve yourself of any sort of negative emotions, or even it could be happiness or whatever's on your mind. I'm wondering, do you usually have specific inspirations, or how do you go about making a cohesive, like a coherent poem?
I just let that go through heaven down. Okay. I'll try to name the feelings and I try to bring them first. Like I try to just write everything out in a non-poetic way, just like conversationally.
Yes.
And then
It's
once
like
I write it,
the thoughts off the top of your head, would you say?
yes, exactly. Just without trying to make it a poem.
And
And then once there's,
oh no, go ahead.
yeah, and once there's like a line or like something that I'm like, ooh, I like how that sounds. Sorry. Then I'll start the poem and then I'll start, oh my God, hold on. Oh no, okay, I'm sorry.
It's all
I
right.
did something by mistake. But what I was saying is that once it gets to that line that inspires me or makes me feel like, ooh, I like how that sounds, then I'll start to build from there and I'll start to merge the feeling to the words. And it usually comes like on the fly for me. I literally write it off the top of my head. And then once it's locked in for me, then I'll go back and reread it and I'll see if that's what I meant to say, or if the feeling still, or if it's just like a mess, then I'll go and start to tidy it up around and try to make it more poetic or more artistic, I would say.
Yeah. And do you ever go back and you switch words to make them rhyme, or you just have a more descriptive word for a certain phrase and you switch it out? Or how would you go about your editing process?
Okay, so if you read my poems, you see that my editing process needs work. But sometimes there's typos in there and it's a mess. But when I do reread, try to get the syllables have a flow.
Yes.
Yeah, I always aim to have like a beat, like
Rhythm.
yes, like a rhythm, so that the rhythm that you don't hear, but for, that you can feel. Like when you read the poem, you're like something about this sounds like it's melodic, but
Yes.
it's you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. It's like the syllable count or even just the way a word
Yes.
sound. And if you use the same beginning sounds, consonant sounds, your
Mhm.
assonants, your vowels, and that just makes it all fit together.
Correct. Say it again, bro. That's exactly it. Yes, and I try to do that. I'm not the greatest at it, but it's something that I'm really trying to refine because I
Mhm.
think that little bit really adds a touch of magic, and I
Yes.
think that it yes, it like highlights the feeling. It makes the feeling that much bigger, and I think that the feeling, though the words are magic and the words are also a part of the connection, because I
Mhm.
think the goal is always to connect to the reader or to just let somebody know that you're not alone the same way that you feel this, I feel this too, but how can I keep you there? And I think that paying attention to that rhythm is how you keep somebody there. Like you might grasp them in that first sentence, but to keep them to the end of your poem, I think that the rhythm is that magic ingredient.
Yes. And even if we don't read the poem out loud, we can still see if the poem fits a rhythm or a structure because when you're reading it and your mind processes it, it's so weird how it's almost automatic.
Yes,
Eh,
100%. And I
Yeah.
think that this part I also saw that you also are a singer songwriter.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm also working towards the same thing. I sing, I write songs as well, but I'm learning. But I'm trying to build the courage to put myself out there. It's another reason why I started to write. That's
That's
the
wonderful. No, even with you have to have that rhythm, and it's so transferable into poetry and songwriting. They're so interconnected where when you're writing poetry, you can almost turn your poems into songs because if you just change up the rhythm and you make it fit a melody, you have that melodic structure, and you've written a song, and it's wonderful that you're also working towards songwriting. Can I ask what you do with songwriting?
I haven't written a song. I haven't put out a song in a long time, but I freestyle a lot. And I try
Oh,
to freestyle. Yeah, I try to freestyle to see how good I can get on my toes.
uh you mentioned to me that you're at a concert right now, so obviously you're a music fan. I'm wondering, do you do any performances? Any just
I haven't done one in a really long time. I did one last year, and I think that I wasn't really present for my artistry before.
yes.
And now I'm trying to find what is my sound and what
Mm,
is it that I want to say and who is it that I want to touch and how do I want to touch them with my words? Like who do I want to connect to? But I think that in this moment right now, I'm figuring out who I am so that I can be clear on what that is. So
that's
I'm just
beautiful.
practicing. Oh, thank you. I'm really just practicing because
Yes.
haven't really found that. Like I know where it touches me. Like I know when I hear a song that I'm gonna play it for a week, or I know
Mm,
that okay, I want to sing this because it sounds so good. I want to challenge so vocally. Oh, that's more. But when it comes to me writing, or I start to think about all these other things, and I really just want to get to a point where I'm just doing it. I'm not really thinking of how it's structured. But I think
yes.
that's the major. I feel like that's the major thing that's like holding me back right now, like really clipping my wings. And I don't want that to be, and I don't want that to be the thing anymore.
Yes.
So I'm trying to free myself so that I can pursue the artistic career that I want. So I can write these songs and I can put them out. But I also know that I have a standard. And then there's that. But this first, what I do in songwriting, I will find beats on YouTube.
Yes.
I try to find beats that are similar to the music that I listen to.
Is it more top lining?
Is it more what?
Top lining.
What does that mean? I don't know what top lining is.
So top lining is when you take an instrumental track and then you just start singing vocals to it and create a melody and lyrics to put it on top. I've done it before where a music producer has sent me a instrumental track and I've basically done the
Mhm.
vocals for it and the lyrics and sent it back to them and they've mixed it back into the instrument.
Yes. Okay. Yes. It's basically top lining. Thank you for sharing that. I just learned something new.
Yeah, no, a lot of artists these days, especially singers or vocalists, do top lining because it's so easy now to collaborate with the music producer just over the internet. and say, hey, you can send me your tracks and I'll do a vocals on it, and then we can create something beautiful together.
Yeah. And that's really the magic of it too, right?
Yes.
It all goes back to connecting. Hey, I really appreciate your art. I hope you really like my art. Let's meet somewhere in the middle to create something amazing. Love that.
Yeah. And it's so amazing how we're able to connect with other people online. Like our conversation right now is because we had social media platforms or we had the internet to even have this conversation.
Yes. And I'm so grateful that I came across you and you came across me.
I know
Because, yeah.
it's a
Sorry.
wonderful collaboration. Go ahead.
I was saying, what I wanted to say was that it always surprises me when anyone takes any kind of interest because I feel that I have such a long way to go that it's really an honor when anyone's, hey, man, something about you brings me curiosity and it makes me want to learn more. I'm like, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And it's always shocking. It's surprising, but it's really cool. And the
No,
way that we connected, yeah.
no, that's honestly what my entire platform is all about, is supporting creatives who might not have that spotlight on them. Because obviously a lot of creatives these days, unless you're someone famous, someone big, it's nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to go and see your work. And that's just so sad to me because it's everyone's worked towards something and they have something to share. They've got a story to tell, and that's what I want to highlight on this podcast.
That is so true. And the more that I get into music, the more I see myself like slowly going to the rabbit hole of the people who are in that niche. Because I think that we forget that our favorite artists, the artists who are like at the top of the game right now, started underground. They once were like that little seed. And so that's another reason why I think that what you're doing is really amazing, because you yourself are definitely one of those talents who's going to be huge, but it's going to be really cool when it's like you and someone else who you've done the podcast with, or you and another artist who might grow together.
Yeah,
And see it through to the big leagues. That's going to be amazing.
yeah, I know. It's so amazing to see how much everyone is contributing to the art scene and just see the talent that's out there. And even on this podcast, I've spoke to people like you who you've got your poetry, you're doing music, and it's just amazing to see all the ambition out there.
Yes, and I think it also gets you on your toes, right? Because it lets you know that, okay, I'm not the only one searching for this really high quality of art, and I'm not the only one who wants to put it out. There's people doing it right now in this moment, and it strides, and I think that's very inspiring and very motivating, and everything that we need as artists in our community to challenge ourselves and to propel ourselves forward, to meet our own goals, to jump out of the shadows and really get our feet wet.
Yes.
And
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, continue.
no, I was gonna say just to thrive and explore, and then I'm totally done there.
Okay. No, it's hard to know, especially on Zoom calls, because I don't know when you stop talking and when I should start talking. And it's just, yeah.
Me either, girl. But we're figuring it out, and we're
Yeah.
having a good time. So I'm super happy about that, and I'm honestly just happy to be here.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
And I was gonna say that even when you meet people online or you have these collaborations, because you were saying it keeps you on your toes, keeps you motivated, I've noticed that a lot of people will try and get accountability buddies. Where I was speaking to this author, and he was saying that he found this other author where they did a competition as to who could finish their book first. And both of them completed the book so much faster than they would if they were to do it on their own.
That's awesome.
I know. And like nowadays, anybody can do that. Anyone can go and DM someone on Instagram and say, hey, do you want to be my accountability partner? Do you want to do this with me? It seems like your account is all about this, and I'm about this as well.
I think that's an amazing way to put the lights of fire under your behind. I don't know if I can curse. I'm not gonna curse. Um, that's a great way to light fire, give you a sense of urgency. I think that is so brilliant.
I
I
know,
love that.
it's amazing. And I just want to ask, are there any things that you've tried that you found have worked for you? Maybe it's motivation, maybe it's with your writing, with your music.
I haven't found anything that works. I think that I go through these cycles, and I think that there are times when I get to the realization that I'm not doing what I want to be doing full time right now. And I think that is my motivation. I also feel that I know where I want to be, and every day that I'm not there, is also a motivator, but I think that I will take into account what you said and really find an accountability partner because I would really love that. Because right now I am doing it on my own, but it would be great to have a buddy.
And honestly, like this world of creativity, this world of entrepreneurship can get lonely sometimes where you feel as though you're the only one who's working towards your goals. Maybe it's building your company, maybe it's becoming an artist, maybe it is working on your graphic design or whatever you're doing. It can feel isolated. You can feel isolated at times, and just knowing that there's an entire community out there who's doing the same thing that you're doing is just comforting.
It is. But at the same time, and I'm going to be very honest, sometimes I feel really behind. I mean, like I beat myself up a lot and I'll say it's like, oh, you should have been here if it wasn't for this. And I'm really, and another reason why I write poetry is and I'm really trying to find the space where I can give myself the grace
Yes.
to say, hey, if this is where you were mentally, this is what you were able to do, give yourself credit for that.
I know.
And now, and now that take what you know and apply it to the future, to the right now, so that it doesn't repeat.
Yes, and it's so easy to judge ourselves, our past self, to look back and say, oh, you should have done this better. Oh, you should have been a better person. Maybe you should have been better at this, because we can critique ourselves looking back because we didn't know the knowledge that we do now, and we are in a better place critiquing ourselves in the present than we ever were in the past. So sometimes it's just go easy on past me.
I know, but I like to beat her up. And I'm trying to stop.
No, you have to stop beating up past you. No, just go back and say, you know what? Past me was amazing for making it through to now.
Okay? No, you're 100 million, gazillion, trillion, gabillion% right.
Yeah. And so,
If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here.
and so past me, maybe she made a lot of mistakes, but she made it here. So that's
Okay,
her.
you want that fair for her.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure.
So I want to ask you, is there anything you're doing right now that will maybe propel you to gain that life that you want, the job, the career, whatever you want out of life?
I am. I have some ideas that I'm working on right now, taking little baby steps.
Yeah.
And doing what I have to do. And
Do you mind sharing some of those with us?
no, because they are going to be executed. They are going to be out soon. But yes, there are little projects that I'm working on. Is this like a seedling stage?
Yes.
I'm really at that stage where
You don't know
you're
exactly
grabbing-
what to label it?
No, I have the idea. I have the plan, but it's just like at a very early stage. And I think it's just not the time to say, hey, this is coming out.
Yes.
So it's still a seed. Still new. And I'm still like
Mhm.
stages of putting everything together. And then once everything's together and we're at that stage of the execution going on, but it's just like the early stages of execution are going on.
No, I completely understand.
Yeah, we're not yet in production. But I feel like once we're in production and we're close to finalization,
Then you share it.
yeah, then we can be like, this is yada yada project that's
Yeah.
coming out on such and such, because we're around with gathering those resources, getting the things ready, doing that vocal work. Because you say, no, that it being,
Oh God, you could spend forever doing scales.
okay, girl.
I'll be there for hours just being like, I'm not hitting this note. Why aren't I doing it? It's not happening today. Yeah, no, I completely understand the struggle.
Yes, love vocal practice, but I really also love singers. Like I love to listen to singers because I feel that's where you really get that inspiration when you hear those colorful runs, when you hear those ad libs, when you hear that.
I can switch up my style. I can be more I can be more belty, a powerhouse, or whatever you want to be.
Girl, you better preach. Yeah, exactly. And I think that when you sing along, and I like to sing along to people who I'm not at their level yet. I love to humble myself like that.
Yes.
Because I feel like that.
No, I can understand. You hear Mariah Carey or even Beyonce singing and you're like, I could do that. I could do it. I could definitely do it.
And then you try and you're like,
yourself.
I'm going to go cry.
Yeah. And you're like, it sounded better in my head. Why isn't it sounding the same way as I expected? in my head on the recording.
Why do I sound like a dying chicken and not like Beyonce?
What is wrong?
I know. But and then it's also understanding like these people have been doing it their whole lives.
Yes.
But thank you for laying out the blueprint, because now I'm gonna practice the song a million times until I can figure out where you place the barrette, lady.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I want to ask if there's any social media platforms, a website that people can find you at.
Yes. So I have about 5 pages, and I am going to tell you guys about all of them. Right now, the main page is Eloquent Thug Chick. So that's Eloquent Thug and then CHIC. And this is all on Instagram. My other one is my fashion page, Remixed the Fit. So REMIXEDFIT. And then With Love Lotus, which is my poetry page, WITHLOVELOTUZ. And then the page that is funding the art is called Sparkly Suds. So I am currently doing a claims business, which is helping me fund the art. So I would really appreciate the support. You know, anybody in Jersey, tell them to hire me to clean their house so I can put out art.
Yes.
And yes, and that is Sparkly Suds, SPARKLYSUDZ. Please tell them to hire me so I can give you guys songs, and then I can not clean and just sing for a living. Yeah.
No, I love that. Thank you so much for popping on. And please do check Lotus out. Go support her. And if you like this podcast and you want more episodes like this, please do share it with a friend or family member. And we hope to see you next time.
Yes. Also, make sure to get that AKA Girl book. They can't read me. All right. Yes.
Thank you.
Love that. Well, my pleasure, girl.
You will say